Now, if you're anything like me, and if you are, I'm so very sorry. But if you are, there's a high likelihood that at some point in your life you'll have been drunkenly shouting the words to Don't Look Back Into the Sun by the Libertines. And the Libertines have been a band that has always had an overwhelming amount of love for them, as well as a significant amount of controversy surrounding the band, more so to do with Pete Doherty as frontman. Yet despite the band being on and off for the past 20 years, they've now returned with a new single, signifying the start of a new era for the Libertines, if you will. Alongside Pete Doherty, or Doherty, being in an interview with Louis Theroux recently, throwing all the Libertines and Pete's past controversies as well as struggles back into the limelight once again. And throughout the interview with Louis, it still seems like Pete is someone trying to come to terms with their past and deal with the mixture of emotions that comes with the past highlights of his career, alongside his very public mistakes and mix-ups in serious police inquiries at times. But ultimately, we now see Pete with his wife, kids, dog, and his love of cheese and pies, all reflecting someone who seems to have turned a corner and be able to surround themselves with a great support system, as well as come to terms with telling stories of times he'd let his bandmates down or past arguments and quarrels that they had with each other. And I think it's fair to say that Pete is a pretty interesting public image with regards to both his career and personal life, often remaining loved despite his downfalls, where fans have always seemed to view him as the kind of lovable rogue who simply needed looking after and the right people around him to encourage him to make the fantastic music he's capable of doing, with his charisma being shown right back from an interview with him before he was even famous, simply queuing up to buy the new Oasis release. And even when he was serving time as punishment in prison, a recent interview on Jackmate's Happy Hour with, and I quote, the governor of the prison he was staying in, she stated how he was a bit of a troublemaker, but simply due to how popular he was with the other prisoners, as Pete was continuously signing autographs on pieces of paper he wasn't meant to be writing on, alongside being in other social situations which saw him put in segregation for the rest of his time there, showing that even on the inside he still had the duality of being charismatic and loved, yet getting himself into trouble. So I suppose all of this feeds into the question of, if this is the new era of the Libertines, is this going to be a long-term thing? And are the Libertines now back for good, if you like? And it's a shaky topic as it relies on a lot of variables, with the blaring one to me being, how popular do the Libertines actually want to be anymore? The early works of Don't Look Back Into the Sun and Can't Stand Me Now reflected music full of incredibly earnest and relatable love songs to both family, friends and romantic relationships, which ultimately is why people loved them and connected with their music. And one could speculate that if there hadn't been so much controversy, the Libertines could have easily has become as big as Oasis and Arctic Monkeys, and really solidified themselves as one of the truly massive rock bands of the past 30 years. Yet would the Libertines now even want to strive towards something like that? As I feel the new album probably could get them to those heights, and they could potentially achieve that in some way. But maybe the quieter life suits the band and specifically Pete better, and such a limelight is no longer an aim to achieve, and they're more focused on what's sustainable for themselves at the next stage of their lives, which might not include the Libertines as a long-term thing. There's also the issue of their track record, and I don't mean their music. The Libertines of a band have been fairly on and off and unstable for the past 20 years. So one might even wonder, is it likely that they'll be able to stick around for the next 20 years? Or are there too many burnt bridges in both the industry and within the band itself long term? And ultimately it comes down to what type of music will they be releasing. From their new single, I think it's fair to say we're going to get that iconic Libertines sound but kicked into the 2020s. And it's something that will go down with fans. And I could easily eat up a whole album or two of that stuff for the next couple of years, as it sounds like a modern and fresh take on their staple sound, but nothing yearning for the past or the 2000s. So overall, would long-term success and a grand return be possible for the Libertines? Absolutely yes. We have seen people step away from music and return to still do grand things, like Liam Gallagher for example. After Oasis's split and the downfall of BDI, Liam was able to return as a solo artist, releasing a string of new albums which sounded great and still solo headlining festivals, a worldwide tour, and selling out Nebworth just as Liam Gallagher, not as Oasis. Now this does stem from the base of Oasis, and he's able to provide that blast from the past, as well as new and updated tunes that sound fantastic and do capture some of that original spirit. And I think the Libertines will be able to do the exact same thing, except still as the Libertines. I think they really need to push this new era they're promoting, to take on a new light, a new approach to their shows, their fans, and remember the look they have, that they're still back and able to release new music, and hone in on this wholesome, fresh image that everyone who's a true fan of the band loves. To see that they're back and making music in a safe environment with great support systems, and boy, do I hope it's going to be good. Overall, I still think the main priority will be the health and well-being of the band and their families, so who knows how long they'll be back for. We can only appreciate them while we have them now, and hope that this is for the long term, in a safe and loving environment where we can all celebrate the band and the art they've given us, and aim to ensure that the past is learnt from and the good times are still ahead. So do let me know what you think of this Libertines return, and if you like their new single or the Louis Theroux interview. As always, feel free to like and subscribe if you're new here, and on that note, I think I'll say ta-ra for now, and I'll see you later.